Feeling overwhelmed by a blank page? I have the inspiration you've been looking for. Hi all, my name is José. I'm a Portuguese designer living and working in Ontario, Canada. And I get it. An empty page is one of the scariest things. The possibilities are endless and you don't want to mess it up. It's tough. I go through this every time I have a new sketchbook. I want to make it count. To force myself to break through that, a while ago I decided to start drawing something every day and post it online. I've been doing it for almost 250 days now, and when I'm out of ideas, my secret is actually very simple. I go to this website, I generate a random word, and then I draw it. Or at least I try. Having a prompt really helps me unblock. And once you have a subject, it's probably a bit easier to get started. Now, I like to vary my approach in technique, but also in the way that I interpret that prompt. So, if the prompt is not enough to get you started, I'll give you 8 tips you can use to try to vary your approach. First one is to alternate between literal and figurative drawings. You can be literal and draw exactly what the prompt describes, which can be fun, but also sometimes you're depending a bit too much on the prompt to have something interesting. If the prompt isn't super interesting, consider going for a visual metaphor, something that might be less obvious but probably a bit more interesting to look at, because you're giving it an actual interpretation and giving your viewer a challenge to unlock when they are looking at your drawing. Second tip is to personify it. Usually when my prompt is a boring object, I like to imagine it as a person. It's an easy way to turn something that can be banal into something a bit more interesting. Sometimes turns out funny and cute, other times just disturbing. The third tip is to add an Easter egg. Not literal eggs, but things that have some hidden meaning and can be snuck into your drawing without most people realizing that they are there. This can add a lot of richness to your piece, and it adds another level for people to unlock when they're looking at it. The fourth one is to make patterns, either a drawing that is part of a pattern or there's a pattern within the drawing. Both are interesting, the first because you have to think how to make something that can be repeatable, and the second because it usually brings another dimension to your piece and also a bit of texture. Tip number 5 is to experiment with pose and action. These are kind of key to consider, especially if you're drawing a character. It's so much more interesting and lifelike if they're actually doing something rather than just kind of being there. This can add a lot of character and personality to your piece, as well as reinforcing the point that you're trying to make. Tip number 6 is to consider framing and format. This kind of relates to the previous point. It's very important, especially if you're posting online. You have to think about where it's going to live, what's the format, and how you can create a balanced composition that fits within that format. Tip number 7 is to try to do self-portraits. If you ever read any of my articles on Medium or follow me on Instagram, you know that it's one of my favorites. It's also a never-ending process of self-discovery. Drawing yourself doesn't need to be accurate, it doesn't need to look like you, it just needs to represent the real you, and if you're illustrating a prompt, to relate to that. My tip number 8 is to make fan art. You can basically take your favorite character, personality, or anything else that you love, and you can make your own interpretation of it. This is kind of the drawing version of a song cover. And as with a song, the most important thing is that you make it your own. Don't just rip off other people's work. There's tons of other ways to add variety and significance to your drawings, but I hope these can already help you get started. Thanks for watching and liking this video if you did. I made 3 other videos on drawing, check them out if you're interested. If you want me to make more videos on anything design related, subscribe and tell me what you'd like to see in the comments. Bye! Hey, I almost forgot. One extra good thing about drawing is that you can make your own stuff, and that can end up in a t-shirt like this one. If you like my t-shirt, you can get one just like this on halfful.com. See you there!